In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Cody Lashney. I am joined today by the one and only, the professor, Tony Dunn, out and about, living his best life with his family, I'm sure. But we had to come in here and talk a little bit about some of the breaking news that has happened in amongst the Panther Kingdom. Teddy Bridgewater has officially been traded to the Denver Broncos for a 6th round pick. He is not our problem anymore. Tony Dunn, what say you in reaction to this news?
Well, thank you for hosting the C3 Panthers podcast impromptu of the Teddy Bridgewater exodus. I know you got some more work you're going to be doing with the big board and the draft, which is approaching tomorrow night. I do want to remind everybody the draft party, the 8th annual live C3 draft party tomorrow. Start off at 7:30 and we'll cover the whole draft. And, you know, we got to be, Cody, just to be honest about when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater, you know, we knew something was going to happen. It was just when, where, and how, right? And was it going to be on draft night, right? Or on day 2 or, you know, day 3 of the draft? Or was it going to be prior to the draft? Or are we going to find ourselves after the draft looking and saying, well, is there a team that's going to get an injury to a guy that, you know, we're going to hold on to him to a certain point? So we knew the writing was on the wall for Teddy Bridgewater. And strangely, I hate this. I hate when rumors turn out to be true, because we've been trying to squash like all these different types of rumors, like the Mac Jones to the 49ers, right? This and this, or how they like Trey Lance over Justin Fields. But Teddy Bridgewater has been continuously linked to the Denver Broncos over the last couple of weeks or months. Yeah. We've always heard that name. You heard at first that the Broncos contacted the Carolina Panthers interested in trading for Teddy Bridgewater. Or maybe was that San Francisco? That was San Francisco. I got that wrong. I got my wires crossed.
No, there have been a few teams that have kind of been amongst the same conversation. Apparently, for the Broncos, it was a 2-horse race between Teddy Bridgewater and Jimmy Garoppolo. So what I'm wondering now is this. We even said on our show last night that it seemed as though the Denver Broncos might be one of the teams that could potentially trade past us in order to get a quarterback. Now, it looks like they have Drew Lock that they're going to kick the tires on again. They're sending us another 3rd-round pick, which, by the way, shout out to Nick Gaskins in our chat, points out that we now have 3 6th-round picks. We have the 191, the 193, and the 222 pick in the draft. And I wonder, again, Tony, there's so much conversation about what the Panthers will do with the 8th pick. Do you think that this is actually something that potentially benefits the Panthers maybe drafting a quarterback? Or how much do you think this changes things for us?
I don't really think it changes it at all. Right? I think that we're kind of just exactly in the same spot where we were, which was the right spot to be. And that is, if the quarterback is there, you get him. If Justin Fields falls to 8, and if he is the quarterback that falls, then you really seriously got to consider doing it. Is that you have continuously said that Sam Darnold was break glass in case of emergency. Yeah. And there's some, I won't say irony, but it's interesting that the Teddy Bridgewater people, the people that were so defensive about any criticism about Teddy Bridgewater, again, what you have here is an organization that doesn't want to be with Teddy Bridgewater. And so much so that they're taking a risk with a unproven commodity and Sam Darnold, right? They're willing to bet their money more on Sam Darnold at this point, where he hasn't done anything, than a guy who had his best season. Teddy Bridgewater just had his best season. You know what I'm saying?
Which
Like
is so
his
funny to
best
say.
season.
It's so funny
We
to
just
say.
traded for the worst quarterback in the league because we didn't want the guy who just had his best season ever, because that was all it could be. So I think Justin Fields, if he is there, I mean, I got to think the Panthers have to look at it, but they don't have to feel forced to get Mac Jones if he's the guy that slips. They could just pick Penei Sewell. They could just do all of this. And I mean, do anybody really believe that Teddy Bridgewater is like being thought of as a starting quarterback?
No, but I got to share this because it involves you two, and you and I were trying to wonder if this was real or not. But
God, please tell me this. I hope it is. I loved your comment. It's real?
Yeah, I think so. Let me make sure I find it. Apparently, it is real. So
hell yes. This is This is as bad as the Matt Ryan one. But
I don't understand why there's always some weird pictures of Teddy Bridgewater floating around. Like, I do not understand for the life of me. Apparently, this is a. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. And you know what? That is
what, dude? What?
That's
what
the
the
tranny.
Hell is he doing?
That's the tranny that mugs get caught with, and then all of a sudden, some married dude gets caught, and Teddy Bridgewater got the big, you know what? And whoops! Do you remember? God, who was it? Hugh Grant. He used to be married to like somebody. Elizabeth Hurt, not
yeah. I think it was Elizabeth Hurt, right?
And then he got caught with a tranny in the car. Eddie Murphy did. Dang, Teddy Bridgewater's new occupation, tranny porn.
Why are you even joking about? He's got the
look at it. Like, how can you even do that?
He has
how can you do that on your
bro? Yo, Trill One says, "What the fuck, Tedisha?"
Oh, you know what? Tedisha's Craigslist like ad is something like Teddy in a Teddy.
Yo, shout out Nick Montiero for the $4.99. This is for that pick. I am rolling. Hey man, don't thank us. Thank Teddy Bridgewater with the partner gift.
Oh, I know.
And
Nick, check your damn mailbox. Hopefully. All right.
Yeah, man. So
what here is that is what I'm hating to just kind of revisit this, Cody, but
I'm leaving this picture up the entire time you're talking about.
Hell yeah. It's like the McCorkle. It's like the McCorkle of the show. When it comes to Teddy, though, is that there were so many people that kept saying this, is that like you got to build an offensive line. Who cares if how good the quarterback is if they don't got an offensive line? You got to do our team stinks. And just it was a complete absconsion of Teddy Bridgewater the entire time. Right. What do they say about the team? They have to take two lines. Either they have to duck and cover at this point and hide, or they have to now take the line that the Panthers are being irresponsible by risking it with Darnold. And you got to believe that they're almost hoping that we don't take a quarterback. What do you think the Teddy stands want to happen in round one, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
I mean, I don't know. I really do. I don't seek to understand the mind of a Teddy Bridgewater fan most of the time. I don't ever want to be in that much of a depraved, fucked up mindset. But I do want to shout out Michael Jones for the $4.99 love bomb. He says Rule almost has to draft a quarterback as a security blanket. No way Darnold can be a bust like Teddy and Rule survive it.
I agree. I think this is an excellent point, and I think it's a point that you almost wonder if anybody can survive it. Right? Is that, I mean, and you can't just fire everybody for every decision that doesn't work out. But last year, there was a concerted effort between Tepper, Rule, Hurney, Joe Brady, whoever the usual suspects were, whoever was involved. There was a concerted effort to part ways with Cam and to go get Teddy. Right? That was the answer. Is like, it's time. Rip the Band-Aid off. Go get this guy. And it failed. Right? It doesn't mean the first part of the decision was wrong to move on from Cam. But when the alternate decision fails, it's problematic. And so in this case, is that if Sam Darnold doesn't work and you didn't draft a quarterback and you're starting all over again, you failed twice.
Yeah.
And so they can't have that. And I think that that's why I was okay with the Darnold move, is because I didn't like, what have you said entirely on the show? Does this preclude us from taking a quarterback? And the answer is no.
Right. Oh, we also didn't talk about this, and we need to, we're still paying $7 million to this trans person that we have pulled up on our stream right now. And then I was watching P&P. Rashad and Dave went earlier live, and Dave said that this is going to be $17 million of dead money against our cap.
Sure. Yeah, it will. And that's the point, is that, and what we've learned is this, and I have learned this year, is that we always knew that guaranteed money was getting paid, right? If you cut a guy, you had to pay that's why you always look at the guarantee money. They take there was a $63 million contract, 25 of it or 32 of it was guaranteed. They take that guaranteed money and they divide it equally among the years of the contract. So say it's a 3-year contract with 30 million guaranteed. But then there's a salary too. Your first year, you get 10 million of your guaranteed money and you get your salary. Second year, you get 10 million guaranteed and you get your salary. When you cut somebody, you lose the salary money, but you don't lose the guaranteed money. Well, what I've learned this year is that when you trade someone, the guaranteed money doesn't leave with the trade. Only the salary leaves with the trade. So all of the guaranteed money, and this is why we've continued to harp on the Teddy Bridgewater contract as being problematic of the length. It would have been, this is why it's better almost to pay a guy 1 year more money and just eat it then than to spread it out a little bit. Like if we would have paid him 1 year, $30 million, it would have been less money on us this year and next year. We're going to be paying, and then you got to pay all of it all at once. So what used to be prorated, right? So say, and somebody maybe in the chat room can pull up the contract details for what we signed Teddy was $64 million. Can't remember the guaranteed, but once you prorate that guaranteed money, but once you cut or trade them, you can't prorate it anymore. You got to pay it instantly. Yeah. So that's the thing, is we're losing his salary, which does help us, but it accelerated next year's guaranteed money to this year. So it probably doesn't save us a ton or anything at the moment. It just kind of solidifies our direction and maybe gives us a little cash to work with in the short term.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know if you saw this earlier on Twitter, but I put, looking at that contract, that Teddy Bridgewater contract that was signed, where we just traded a guy for a 6th-round pick when we signed him for a 3-year, $63 million deal. Listen, I'm as crippled as they come, but if I ever see Marty Hurney, I'm fucking throwing hands with homeboy. Dude, this is so unacceptable, man.
You're right.
So bad.
You're so right.
Bad.
The criticism for Marty Hurney for the first stint was the contracts. And for someone who kind of sees or tries to see some good and some bad when it comes to Marty Hurney. So let's see, 40 million guaranteed.
So this is the Factor One. He's a Bears fan that follows our channel. Shout out to you, bro. It says Panthers signed Bridgewater to a 3-year contract worth $63 million before the 2020 season. So, Bridgewater reportedly guaranteed $40 million in the first 2 seasons.
So that's the question I have about those numbers right there is when you say 40 million guaranteed for the first 2 seasons, like no matter what, he's playing year one. So you have to pay the signing bonus and his year one salary. So the guaranteed money is probably like 33 million, right? But still, it's probably 11, 11, and 11 is probably how they divvied it up. That's what I'd be guessing. And we already paid 7 million of his salary last year. So that gets you up to 40. Yeah, so he's making at the minimum 40 no matter what if he's on the roster from day one. But back to what I was saying about Marty Hurney real quick is that is that you can either take he's the worst dude ever, he's the best, whatever. Who cares? The big stain on his first stint, or one of the big stains on his first stint, was the contracts with the running backs. So he comes back.
Yeah.
You bring him back. And then all of a sudden, what do you bring them back for? They fired Dave Gettleman because Dave Gettleman was playing hardball with Thomas Davis and Greg Olson. Well, what does he immediately do? He hooks the boys up a little bit, but he didn't go over crazy. So you're like, maybe Hurney learned, and maybe and then Jerry Richardson's gone. And you're like, well, maybe he was the lapdog for Richardson. But again, he dipped his toe into overpaying for something.
Yeah,
and that was the whole point, is that you could have told Teddy Bridgewater, we're going to make you the starter. We're going to pay you starting money, but we're only going to do it for 1 year. And if you're good, then we'll talk about this later. But they didn't do that. And they were so scared of losing Teddy Bridgewater to whoever that they overpaid.
The Factor One says, but Wednesday's trade eliminates the final year and $21 million of his contract in 22 per Denver's Mike Kills. So
right. So that's the 40. That's the other. So basically he's collecting $42 million total. They pay his salary this year, though. They pay his salary. Denver pays his salary. We pay the guaranteed money. Yeah,
and listen, it's like they're
paying $7 million for a backup quarterback.
Yeah, this is such a negative thing because I do love Christian McCaffrey as a player. I'm just like hardcore into the mindset that you don't pay a running back a ton of money when you're running them into the dirt. He did that after he already signed D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, and now we're looking at this contract, and it's like,
well, at least for McCaffrey, there's an argument that he could be a transcendental player.
Yeah.
Right. Like at least there is that argument.
He was the only superstar that we had on the team when literally every popular Panther left. But
the Shaq Thompson contract, some question, that locked us in a little bit more than maybe we needed to be locked in. This Teddy Bridgewater contract is a bust, man. It's a bad contract. It's very simple. I mean, it's just what I've been saying the whole time.
Yeah. There's really no other way to put it. Bad contract. We have a Broncos fan that came into the chat. If I can find him, Dead Pixel. Big Bronco fan here. I'm excited for Bridgewater to be a dang good backup. And you know what? That's
exactly
Yeah, as long as those are your expectations and that that you've traded for a backup, and it's like, that's why this is so much better if you're a Bronco fan, because you still really don't know who your starter is going to be next year. Like, they're going to have a competition between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater.
Or they might move up and get somebody, and guess what? Teddy finds himself in the Tyrod Taylor scenario as usual, which is they went and got a quarterback, but you know what? We don't want to rush him. So we got Teddy. He could go out there and play a couple of games. He's going to be just okay, and then we're going to ease the guy in.
This is the second time that a team has traded Teddy Bridgewater because of Sam Darnold. It happened with Sam. So he was with the Jets, and then the Jets traded Teddy to the Saints, and then now here in Carolina. And we're kicking
Dude, I'm telling you, is that if he can stay healthy, he's going to play for as many teams as Fitzpatrick.
Well, yeah,
he's going to hold a clipboard for every team in the NFL. He's just not good enough, man. I'm sorry. I mean, it doesn't mean like I can. Everybody be like, well, you go out there and do, but no, I'm not like trying to be a quarterback. I mean, I get, but the point is he just isn't it.
Yeah, he's definitely not it. But to the Broncos fans, yeah, you have a serviceable backup that is at most what Teddy Bridgewater is. And yeah, if you need him to come in and play ball control and manage the football, yeah, he can do that, and he can do it well.
Is the sixth this year? Is the sixth round pick this year?
Yeah, 191, 193, and 222.
just the one thing is so ultimately now the Sam Darnold trade has been for a second and a fourth, right?
Yeah, second and a fourth. Yeah, so we're still out 2 of the major picks that we gave up.
Somebody's trying to call my phone right now, so decline spam alert. So look, is that at the end of the day, this helps us recoup a little bit of the pick of what we gave up for Darnold. I did want to ask you about this when it comes to the draft and I'm trying not to argue with people so much on the internet just because I don't have the time and the energy for it a lot. But
yeah.
So someone, and I actually wasn't trying to argue. It's just like when you try to have a discussion, sometimes it comes off as like, I got you. I'm trying to prove you wrong. I didn't want to sound like that. But people were saying it's the trade back argument about acquiring assets for a team that needs, that has a lot of needs. And they were like, I don't know how you could not want to do this when it's not like we're, so they were talking about trading back out of the 8 to the 19 and getting some picks. But what I was thinking about though isn't it ultimately better if their argument is more picks is better? And I think it was the Danny G guy he's pretty popular on Twitter. He does and it was like he said that the draft is like throwing darts at a dartboard. Like volume helps because the more throws you get, the more chances you get to hit. But I almost wonder if this is that works in the analogy of trading back from 8 to 15 and then getting a bunch of seconds or something like that. But wouldn't, in some ways, if we could package all 3 of these 6 for a 3rd round pick or a 4th round, wouldn't it be better to consolidate instead of having 6 picks spread out over 7 rounds? Wouldn't it just be better to have 3 picks in the first 2 rounds?
Yeah, and listen, it certainly gives us ammunition, to try and move and bargain and maybe
a 6 and a 4th to get into the 3rd, a 2nd and a 6 and a 4th to get into the 2nd, that type of thing. And that's what I actually am all right with is like getting better players instead of just trying to get as many as possible.
Yeah, and there's certainly there's a lot of truth to that too. And I'm about to show my big board here in a little while. And, this is all, you're gambling at this time of year. No one has a crystal ball to be able to look into the future and tell for sure which player is and isn't going to work. So a lot of people do have the mindset of, well, instead of thinking that, I really know that this player is going to be awesome and a franchise player, let me go back and have a few extra darts to throw at the board. I don't necessarily.
I feel like that's playing scared.
I do too. Little. Yeah, I do too, Tony. And I
is that scared money don't make money.
Yes.
And I heard Dan Patrick talking about this, and I thought Dan Patrick was was spot on. As he said, if you want to trade up to get your guy, I'm cool with it. If you pick your guy, I'm cool with it. But if you just pick a guy because you need a guy, I ain't cool with it. And he was talking about quarterbacks. And that's the thing is, like, I want us to believe in the player we pick, regardless. And that is, and you know what? If it don't work, then you put like egg on your face, you wipe it off, and you pull your pants up, you pull your britches up, and you take your medicine and you go on. But it's better than playing scared, man. Have some fucking nuts.
Yeah. And I really do think that's what the Panthers are going to do. I mean, you're hearing a lot about a trade down, but I honestly think that's dependent upon how the board falls. And listen,
we're getting Justin Fields. If San Francisco don't pick Justin Fields, we're getting him, dude. I just saw a tweet that said that Tepper likes Justin Fields.
Yeah, and that's what I saw too. And we know that David Tepper is crazy for a quarterback right now.
San Francisco's picking him. I don't believe it's Mac Jones, man. I said it last night. I'm sticking to it. I will, but my bet is that Justin Fields goes 3.
Well, what about Trey Lance? I mean,
I don't believe it. Too much of it. I think that, you know what I want to see is I want to see Trey Lance go to New England.
But you're a Trey Lance
study under Cam Newton.
Baby Cam train under real Cam.
Yes.
But
I like Trey Lance. I totally like Trey Lance.
That's what I was.
I do think he's a little bit more of a project though. Like Justin Fields is a little bit farther along, I feel like. And you know what? Maybe, I don't know, is that there was just a little inherently more risk with Trey Lance.
But don't you agree, though, if you think about it from the 49ers perspective, you already have Jimmy Garoppolo that for all of his problems has proven that he can take you to a Super Bowl, right?
He hasn't. He was along for the ride.
That's beside the point.
He was along for the ride.
That's fine, but that's beside the point. But knowing that if you can draft Trey Lance, let him sit for 1 year, all the reports are that he is crazy smart, super intelligent, and
I believe it.
Yeah, and as you said, you've seen him. I mean, I know you're a fan of his play and what he's able to do.
Yeah.
Like,
I would be less shocked if they picked Trey Lance or Justin Fields than if they picked Macaroni Jones, McCorkle.
Do you want to put a little friendly wager on that? I'll do a little wager with you if you want.
All right, yeah.
All right, yeah, we can do it. Well,
so you got Mac Jones, and I get both Justin Fields and Trey Lance. That's what I get.
So
I get two players. You get Mac Jones, McCorkle. You get McCorkle. I get the other two.
All right, fine. This will be the only time in my life that I take McCorkle for anything. So
yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you were like a dad and like doing the sack race and you needed a teammate, and the kids a little bit, you'd be like, "Oh, I'll take McCorkle over there. I think he looks like he got some."
Dude, I need to have McCorkle Jones for a sack race. That has to happen.
His name is Michael McCorkle Jones. Michael McCorkle.
Is he really?
Yeah, I looked at Michael. It's his middle name.
No, but you can't. You can't tell me that. His name is McCorkle.
It's McCorkle forever. Yeah, just like, hey, can you show Teddy Bridgewater one more time?
Yeah.
I mean, like here, it's like McCorkle Jones, and here's Tedisha Bridgewater. You know, I mean, that's like they are forever. It's kind of like this is like what will Devin Funchess always be known as?
Salad Boy.
Salad Boy. Sorry. Oh gosh, this is great.
That's hilarious.
You know, it's funny. It's funny to me that we're not more upset. Like we're happy. We just got a bag of chips. We got some stale beef jerky.
My mom is in the chat room, and that pic terrifies her. It might haunt her nightmares. Yeah, look away, Mom. But hey, yeah, say goodbye to Tedisha.
Thank goodness. Good riddance.
And listen, I mean, now that he's not on our team, look, and I said this after Ron Rivera.
I'm not cheering for him. I'm not cheering for him.
I'm not cheering for the man either. And I honestly do think that he really revealed a lot of his character here in Carolina and really kind of showed himself to be more of an asshole and kind of self-centered than everybody previously thought he was. But it's like I don't ever want to pride myself on wishing bad on another person. You know, I understand that he had a terrible injury that most people thought he would never come back from. Sure. And it's like, you know, you wanted to be able to cheer for him. But, dude, for Panther fans,
we did cheer for him. We tried. We tried our best.
Like, going from Cam Newton to Teddy Bridgewater, that was fucking rough. Like, that was just rough on a lot of us.
The thing that this makes me when I'm most upset about this, or when it comes to, or what I feel like this revealed, is that we always get fed these lines. And you know what? Maybe it's happening. The disinformation is happening with players right now in the draft. I've got a good point I want to bring up with this. Remind me to talk about this with Justin Fields. But, you know, we just, character guy. They're a great locker room presence. They're this. You know, they tell us all the. I think people just wanted to believe. They already believed that. Because they already made, it's like politics. It's like anything. It's like I've already got my conclusion. So whatever evidence shows up, it either fits or I disregard it. So look, people concluded that Cam was a cocky, self-centered, arrogant, egomaniac who didn't give things. And you know what? Any evidence that came about that contradicted that, they just disregarded. And any evidence that came up that found any support, jumping on the football, pouting in the press conference, the crazy dress, they harped on it. And what I feel like this is that this is Teddy Bridgewater's an example of the positive way that works. Like not in a good way, but they just said he was a character guy, good dude, great dude, good dude, great dude. And then you know what? He really won't. He won't a bad dude, but he won't like this. In fact, it's like I've seen Cam lay his life on the line more. And then even this is, how about this? You remember that play where he ran and he got that first down on 4th or whatever? And everybody's like, look at the integrity of this player. They found evidence that supported what they already wanted to believe. All right. The other point, and I'm going to go after this, is are the Carolina Panthers behind the Justin Fields not being the best quarterback in the draft narrative? Are we the shrewd negotiators passing dissemination, this misinformation? Think about this. We go and trade for Darnold. We put it out there right now to other teams. You don't need to leapfrog in front of us. We went and got a quarterback. You don't got to worry about us trading to 5. We're not going to do that. We're fine at 8. And we might even be fine with our quarterback. I think we're behind the Justin Fields slip.
It's like the ultimate bluff. The ultimate bluff. Oh, we got Sam Darnold. We have Joe Brady. And Joe Brady is so good at turning them around. Yeah, dude. Hey, look, power to them. They might be playing some 5D chess.
We're the ones putting the messaging out there about Justin Fields. We're worried about his epilepsy. We're worried about the height of his elbow.
Yeah, a bunch of Ohio State quarterbacks. Yeah, they never work out,
That's Fitterer, man. That's Fitterer being a wizard.
Can't draft those Ohio State QBs. Yeah, but hey, so long to tell you, Bridgewater. We barely knew you. We're still paying you $7 million. So
don't feel bad for Tadisha over here with her big fat ass bank account.
Yeah, I think they have legal weed over there in Denver too. So
but be careful. There's a surprise in Tadisha's skirt that you don't want to mess with.
Oh, dare I say a huge surprise. Oh no.
he already dicked Carolina once.
Oh,
all right.
I maintain that he stuffs. But whatever, we're off the rails. Tony Dunn, thank you so much for joining me for this little impromptu reaction video. I'm gonna go over some of this big board stuff and push our show tomorrow.
Yes, plug the show tomorrow night. We got a lot of guests coming, a lot of prizes. Don't forget to go ahead and submit your top 10 for the draft. The person that gets it perfect wins. But basically the most points may give you, like, if you get in order, you get 2 points. If you just get the name, you get 1 point. You can eat, and so you give me your top 10 players, where they're going, where you think they're going. No trades, nothing like that. Just the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can email it to me at carolinacatchronicles@gmail.com, or even better, you can go hop in our Discord channel right now, and there is a text thread called Draft Night Giveaway. So just put your entry in there, and tomorrow night it's going to be a blast, dude. It's going to be one of the most exciting drafts of our lifetime. I firmly believe that. And I can't wait to see how it pans out for the Carolina Panthers.
It'll be my 2-year anniversary on the C3 Cat Chronicles podcast. I just dropped a link to the Discord in the chat. Guys, stay with me. Tony Dunn's going to jump off here and get back to his everyday runnings, and I'm going to continue on. Tony, thanks so much for joining us, bro. Now, to the 61 people watching, and I thank you all so much for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the share it with all your Panther friends on Facebook and wherever else you have Panther fans. Because now we're talking draft, dude. And I'm going to talk about my top 100 big board of this year's draft. And listen, you can tell me whatever you want, man. If you want to agree with me, you want to tell me my big board is stupid, whatever. If you just want to give me your thoughts and opinions, we can do that, man. We can definitely do that. And without further ado, let's just jump into it. New mic. So no, okay, this is not a dope vape pen or a mic in front of me. This is to help out a handicap play first-person shooters, believe it or not. This is a quad stick, and I use it to play a bunch of video games. but it also helps a handicap to be versatile by his computer and do a bunch of different shit and multitask. So yeah, if you didn't know, now you know. But without, let's jump back into this board right here. And listen, I'm just going to jump into this. The top 4 quarterbacks in this year's draft are special to me. They really are. I genuinely think Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance, they're my top 4 players on my big board. I mean, obviously, so much of their career trajectory is going to depend on what team they go to. But that's true for literally every player. When you look at these top 4 quarterbacks, they have everything that you want in a franchise quarterback. Elite arm talent, incredible mobility, the ability to make plays and throws on the run, incredibly accurate down the football field. There is so much working for these top 4 guys. I really do think this is a special class for quarterbacks. And some of you might think it's a little outlandish to have them 1, 2, 3, 4. But I stand by what I look at, man. This is a really good class for quarterbacks. My board's blurry as fuck. There's not really too much I could do about it. And when I go full screen on mine, let me see if I can look at the. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can do, bro. But StreamYard. Hopefully, it doesn't. You'll be able to read some of the picks later on down the road. But then we'll get into my offensive tackles. And listen, I'm sorry. Rashawn Slater is my offensive tackle number 1. I've heard guys in the NFL and even on other YouTube channels talk about Rashawn Slater being a guard that should kick inside. And if you watch my film room, none of it is true. None of it is true, man. Rashawn Slater has incredible hands. He doesn't let anyone get a long arm inside of his chest and bullet him around. He's dominant at the line of scrimmage. And even if you didn't play him at tackle, why are people pretending like it isn't incredibly important to have a dominant offensive interior? Like Quentin Nelson revamped the Colts offensive line. So why couldn't Rashawn Slater do the same thing from the offensive interior? But it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. My man is a tackle. 100%. His hips are smooth. His kick set is very nice. He's a powerful player. Rashawn Slater is the man. And then just a few ranks below him, I have Penei Sewell. Now, Penei Sewell might have more of an upside. He might have more of the frame that you're looking for in an offensive tackle. But in my mind, he still has some polish that needs to be applied to him. He needs to work on his hand placement. I definitely want to see him get better on inside stunts and counters coming back to the inside. I think that's something else I want to see him get better at doing. Let's see what some of these comments are looking like. We should go after Kellen Mond. I'm a fan of Kellen Mond. Where do I have Kellen? I have Kellen at my 30th pick. So I have him ranked above Matt Jones. And I think Matt Jones is a poor man's Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond has started for 3 years at Texas A&M. His stats got better every single year while playing at Texas A&M. And he went up against SEC caliber competition also. He has a much better arm. He's far more mobile. Yeah, Kellen Mond is my quarterback 5. I really like Kellen Mond as a player. Slater catches defensive ends too much for my taste. Well, there's a time and a place to catch. It's, I don't see the problems that his arms are supposedly going to cause him on the next level. I want the film to bear that out. And so far, I just haven't seen that from him. Keith says, take Justin Fields. Listen, I don't know about y'all. I know a lot of y'all are really hoping for an offensive tackle, but I'm of the mindset, like I said when Tony was still on here, if Justin Fields is available, I think our owner is too thirsty for a quarterback right now for us to pass on one, especially if they feel that Justin Fields is a franchise quarterback. Justin Fields is the number 2 rated player on my board. Number 2. I mean, people forget Justin Fields was one of the top quarterbacks along with Trevor Lawrence ever since he's been in high school. Look, I'm a Clemson fan. There was a point in time where Clemson fans wanted Justin Fields to be the heir apparent to Deshaun Watson before Trevor Lawrence had ever committed to be a Clemson Tiger. Justin, listen, his performance against my Tigers was the best single performance that a quarterback had all year last year, bar none. My man threw 6 touchdowns against the Brent Venables defense. Like, Justin Fields is a tremendous football player. His accuracy down the field is higher than every other quarterback in this year's draft. If Justin Fields falls, in my mind, it has to be something off the field, something going on. Maybe it's related to the epilepsy, like we mentioned. Maybe it could be some of the injuries that he sustained throughout his time playing football. But I really do think that there's something else that we don't know about that's causing teams to sour on Justin Fields. Because on the play tape alone, dude, Justin Fields had some of the best quarterback tape that I've seen in the past few years. So he's worth all the buzz. And the fact that he went up against better competition for a longer period of time, that's why I have him ranked above Zach Wilson. He played against better competition more consistently. And I really do think that all of these dudes can make all the throws in the playbook. Definitely drinking tomorrow. Hell yeah, bro. Bro, we're all going to be drinking a little bit tomorrow. I'm going to be updating my Draft Tech website, which check that out too. We'll be updating that as the draft happens. So, yeah, I'm going to be working, man. I'm going to be writing picks for the Jaguars, the Houston Texans, and the Carolina Panthers. So, they got your boy working over here at Draft Tech. But, yeah, let's dig into some of these other players I have. Kyle Pitts, my 6th-ranked player. I have Rashawn Slater just a little bit ahead of him. But Kyle Pitts is going to dominate at the next level. They're going to line Kyle Pitts up against safeties and linebackers, and he is going to feast on people in the NFL. And honestly, if we're being honest, it kind of seems like our problem because, you know, all of my intel says that the Falcons are going to take Kyle Pitts with the 4th pick. And that kind of seems like set in stone almost. So, yeah, Kyle Pitts, we're going to need to upgrade our safety position desperately and our linebacking core by a ton. JC Horn, my number 1 ranked corner, and I'll fight you on this one. Bro, I will fight you on this one. I don't know what else to say, man. There isn't anything that JC Horn doesn't do from a shutdown corner perspective. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like Patrick Surtain. I like him too. I have Patrick Surtain, my 15th ranked player, a little bit behind Caleb Farley. But JC Horn is my man, dude. And listen, like, that's the one corner that if we just sat there and drafted with the 8th pick in the draft, dude, I'm not mad at that at all, man. And he's from Carolina, or where he played for the Carolinas. His dad played in the NFL. Yeah, man. You know, I'm a big fan of JC Horn. Glorious day today with the Teddy news. If we can trade back and get Horn, that's my dream scenario. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, dude, I wouldn't mind if we just sat there and took him. If I'm really being real, I have no qualms with just sitting back and with the 8th overall pick, taking J.C. Horn. Like this year, even Justin Fields, like I have Justin Fields ranked number 2, y'all. But, I'm not going to get my hopes up for any one player. Like I think this year especially, like how foolish, right? There's so many different ways that we can go. Like getting your hopes up for one player when we can move in so many different directions. It's like almost beside the point. J.C. Horn is in consideration. Apparently, Patrick Surtain is another player that they really like. And then, as Tony mentioned, all the reports are David Tepper loves Justin Fields. Now, what will be interesting is if Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer wanted to pick, say, J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain. But, dude, could you imagine if David Tepper usurps them? Like, just pulls rank and says, no, bro, we are taking the quarterback for this football team that I just spent $2.5 billion on. Dude, that's certainly within the realm of possibility, man. I have to be honest with you. James Pickett says, I feel if we can grab Gilmore from New England and grab J.C. Horn in the draft, we'll do magic this year. I mean, listen, I don't mind Gilmore as a player, but we're trying to get younger. I'm not really a fan of trading for a 30-year-old corner that we're going to have to pay $16 million for 1 year. Like, I'm just, Tyler Lovato, he backs me up on this. It's not a fan of putting that much money and effort into an older player that we're not going to have very long anyway. So that just doesn't seem very prudent to me. Going back to my list, dude, fuck what you heard. Devonta Smith is the best receiver in this year's class. I don't care, man. 170 pounds, be damned. His separation and his footwork at the top of his routes is incredible. Absolutely incredible, man. Even in press man coverage, like, there was a story about Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin back in the day, and Troy Aikman would just say whenever he called a bang 8, Michael Irvin knew that he was about to get obliterated on a bang 8 route down the field. And that's not really indicative of today's NFL. I mean, the rules are now more in favor of offensive players than ever before. That's why 170 pounds, it doesn't bother me as much as it would in years prior. I think he has more top end speed than Jamar Chase, not by much, but I do think he is a faster player. And I think his footwork is frankly a little bit better than Jamar's. So Devonta Smith is my wide receiver number 1. Are you sure this isn't recency bias? If Jamar Chase played this year and put up what he did last year, would you still say Devonta versus Chase? Well, again, it's like if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle, right? I don't know what would have happened if Jamar Chase would have played football this year. I imagine he would have been incredible because he is a good football player. But with that said, dude, you know how hard it is for a wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy? And, dude, he did that over Trevor Lawrence, over Justin Fields, over Zach Wilson, Matt Jones, Devonta Smith went up against the best corners that the SEC has to offer. And, dude, he held his own. He held his own on every kind of route that you want. Everything from a jet sweep to a corner post to a comeback route. Dude, he does it all. And he has the ability to run away from you. I mean, he didn't run the combine or at the pro day. But, I mean, if you look at him on film, I'm not surprised if Devonta Smith runs a high 4.3 something. And that's just being honest, man. My guy is incredibly fast. Moving down the board here. And again, my apologies if it's blurry and if it's kind of hard to see. If you want to talk about a certain player, just let me know. I'm reading the chat. I'm just kind of going down the list here and looking at players that I might have ranked a little bit differently than others. Oh, all right. Let's talk about my man Quiddy Pay from Michigan. Because in my mind, everyone has him listed as an edge. In my mind, he plays a 3-tech in the NFL. And that's where his skill set is more suited. He's very powerful, dominant at the line of scrimmage. He does a good job of getting hands off of him. He has a good swipe maneuver. And he really is powerful. He reminds me a lot of Ed Oliver coming out of Houston a few years back. So I'm really a fan of Quiddy Pay, but I like him more on the inside. Tevin Jenkins over Darisaw. And dude, I'm not mad at that. I'm really not, man. I had a hard time with some of these offensive line because this really is a good class for offensive linemen. I mean, the Panthers would really be remiss if we didn't take one. But yeah, Tevin Jenkins is a monster. The guy in my mind can play right tackle and right guard, and he's a powerhouse. I mean, that dude, he is a bouncer. He will bounce dudes out the club. I'm a fan of Tevin Jenkins. He's my number 4 offensive tackle in this class. The reason I put Darisaw a little bit higher is I think he has a better build for the tackle position, and I think he might be a little more athletic, whereas Tevin Jenkins is just freak strong. Like that guy can, I wouldn't be surprised if he could like squat 600 pounds or some crazy shit like that. Tevin Jenkins is like Thanos. If you watch this film, I mean, that's really no lie. I don't mind anyone being high on Tevin because that dude is an absolute mauler, bro. Oh, and then let's talk about this. I ended up settling on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah over Micah Parsons. I know rest on running back receiver. What's going on, Spring? So listen, if you've been listening to me on the podcast, you know that I really have a problem with Penn State coaches. They have so much talent on their football team, and yet all of their players are so raw. It's like they don't even know what they were doing, right? Michael Parsons is a converted defensive end, and they just wanted to get him on the field, so they ended up putting him at linebacker. And you can tell, like, my man will try and blow up one of the gaps and just leave the prior gap completely undefended, just hoping that someone will be there behind him. But we're like, no, dude, that's your job. You're the linebacker. You're supposed to be in the middle. And he really has a lot to learn at the linebacker position. But if he is able to make up that gap, dude, Michael Parsons is an incredibly gifted physical athlete. Like, from an athlete perspective, he's better than Luke. And I don't mean as a football player in general. That's blasphemy. What I am saying, the height, they're both around the same height, but at a linebacker running a 4.3 something, dude, that is like teams are going to fall in love with that upside. But the reason why I have Koramoah ranked above him is because Koramoah is a better linebacker, flat out. He's a little bit shorter, a little bit undersized, and his name escapes me right now, but the middle linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts that came out of nowhere, he reminds me so much of him. He really does remind me so much of him. And Koramoah, the Panthers probably won't go linebacker, probably even in the first 3 rounds. But if for whatever reason we were able to come away with the Owusu-Koramoah, I would have no problem with that. Owusu-Koramoah can do it all. Can cover, can blitz from the second level, He really does a lot well. So moving down to the 20s on my board. Yeah, JOK is a beast. Definitely a beast. JD54 says that's what we need. Bouncers. Darnold might be a Hall of Famer if we have a solid O-line. Look at what happened to Mahomes when his line didn't hold up. Yeah. Listen, man, the offensive line is incredibly important. And more importantly, it's a position that we have to fix. And we have to fix it soon. So even if we don't address the offensive line with the first pick in the draft, it has to be at least the second pick. I mean, Cam Irving or Greg Little as our starting left tackles next year, dude, that is not a good look. That does not, that gives me a lot of pause. Truly a lot of pause. Tyler says, Cody, who in your opinion would be an early round bust? I think Jason Oweh is going to be horrible after watching his film. So, again, man, it's those Ohio State coaches. Like, Jason Oweh, from a physical standpoint, is probably a more athletic version of your Tor Gross-Matos. I mean, he really is 6'5", 266 pounds, ran a 4.4 or something crazy like that. Like, the dude is just a freak athlete. But again, man, it's like Penn State coaches, they don't teach them how to use all the proper hand fighting techniques to get the most out of their athleticism. So I don't blame you for saying Jason Oweh, because it doesn't have the stats to back up the projection that people are giving to him. With that said, I understand why people might think that he would be a bust. If you're asking me who my bust is, if I'm being very candid with you, I'll probably say Matt Jones. And the reason why I say that is because he played for a dominant offensive line, dominant wide receivers, the best head coach maybe in the history of college football, and he started for 1 year. And yeah, it was a fantastic year from a statistics standpoint, but it used to be taboo to even consider drafting a player that has only started for 1 season. It was a famous rule that you don't draft a player that hasn't started more than 1 season. Now, this is also true for Trey Lance, but Trey Lance also started playing quarterback a lot later than some of these other players too, and is frankly a lot better of a player, a lot faster than Matt Jones became a good quarterback. So, I can't say Matt Jones. Fine, dude. Fine. In the first round. So who has potential to bust? How about this? Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons has real bust potential if he doesn't go to a coaching staff that will be able to, hone the physical talents that Michael Parsons has. And it's not guaranteed that he'll be able to go to a team that is going to coach him up that way. I think another case is Jalen Waddle from Alabama. Just because even though he is incredibly fast, and he's my number 14th ranked player, just on his over-the-top speed alone, but he has injury concerns. He has a ton of injury concerns, in fact. And I can see him being another John Ross, like the Bengals drafted a few years ago, had a ton of injuries and never saw the field. So that's a good bust candidate. Again, I'm wishing no one to bust. One of my favorite players in the entire draft, he's my number 10 ranked player on my big board, Jalen Phillips. I love Jalen Phillips, but apparently teams are afraid that he has a problem with concussions. He has had 2 concussions before. albeit one was being thrown off of a moped in a car crash. So, yeah, injury concerns are one thing. And if you're going to talk about injury concerns, Caleb Farley is probably someone you'd have to mention also. Having a discectomy 2 times, having 2 different surgeries on it, I'm willing to bet you right now Caleb Farley will fall to the 2nd round. That's my bet right now. I do think Caleb will fall. I do think teams probably are going to feel that Farley will have to have a 3rd surgery on his spine. And if that's true and you're not allowed to let your doctors do a physical, then, yeah, they're probably going to be hesitant to pick him up in the 1st round. Waddle's comp is Hollywood Brown. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, that is a good one. It's just an over-the-top burner. And that is what I love about him. Some people are saying that Waddle might step foot into the NFL and be the fastest player in the NFL. I don't know if I believe all of that necessarily, but the dude is definitely a burner, a super burner. I don't want nothing to do with Farley. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, man, but could you imagine, though, if we were able to pick him with our 39th pick in the 2nd round, and he ends up being a shutdown corner? By the way, from North Carolina, Caleb Farley was the North Carolina State Player of the Year. I forget what year, but Farley's another homegrown player, man. Yeah, I agree, Jake. Pick him up in the 2nd round. Dude, that's a bargain pick. I would love that. Dude, if we picked up Caleb Farley in the 2nd round, dude, my cripple ass might do some flips, y'all. Let's move a little further down here. So now we're moving into the running back territory for me. Travis Etienne is my first running back. I don't give a damn if you want to call me a Clemson fan. Dude, Travis Etienne is Alvin Kamara with a rocket booster up his ass, bro. I'm sorry. Travis Etienne runs a 4.41, I think, at 215 pounds. Came back to Clemson and became a 1,000-yard receiver. I love me some Travis Etienne, man. If we didn't have McCaffrey, I would be jonesing to draft Travis Etienne. Not very good pass blocker. That'll never really be what you want him to do. So I can understand why some teams might have hesitancy putting him in on pass protection on 3rd downs. But it's not like he's terrible at it either. It's just something that he needs to continue to work on. But as a pure offensive weapon, I might even be a little bit too low on Travis. I have him number 21, but I could also see him I can see him being ranked higher than that too. Have I watched any Divine Diablo films? He's my sleeper in the later rounds. He reminds me a little bit of Jeremy Chin. Yeah, I love Divine Diablo. Let me find him. Divine is my... I think I have him. So he's my number 96 player. And frankly, that's the kind of value you're talking about. You're talking about a 3rd or 4th round pick. He's a later round player. He's very raw, but it's one of those players that you're right. Matt Rule would fall in love with. He 6'3", I believe. He's incredibly rangy. In the NFL, I want him to be a true free safety in the back. Just a single high free safety. I think Divine Diablo would do great at that. As a Gamecock fan, I can't help but agree with you on ETN. Yeah, man, we could be rivals and also agree that our teams put out some good players, man. I'm a J.C. Horn super fan, bro. So you don't have to tell me, man. I'm a fan. And yeah, Travis Etienne, he really reminds me of Alvin Kamara with burners. Cody, quarterback have the highest. Nick Gaskin says, Cody, cornerback have the highest best rate in the first round. Oh, corners have the highest bust rate in the first round. Yeah, I mean, again, I try not to make my decisions based off of what other men couldn't do. So I don't like to put that on a player. Or, oh, you're from a certain school, and they don't ever put out good quarterbacks or edge rushers or whatever. Or, oh, you don't pick a tight end in the first round or whatever. Like, every year is different. You have to evaluate the board different all the time. And you're going to end up talking yourself out of a potential fantastic franchise player all because you have a rule that, you know, you might not want to draft a certain player in the first round. I think that's foolish. If you have a corner that you love that's available, yeah, man, you pick up your player. 100%. Another draft crush that I have that I'm also really hoping if we upgrade our receiver core, dude, De'Ami Brown from North Carolina, dude, Curtis Samuel, who? Bro, I would love De'Ami Brown to be added to our receiving core. He is such a fun player, was easily the best offensive player for the Tar Heels this past year. I'm a fan of him, man. I'm just a real fan of De'Ami Brown. I like everything he does. I like the over-the-top speed. I love his corner routes, good-on-go routes, post routes to the back of the end zone. I love his ability to do that kind of stuff. Richie Grant, yeah, I love Richie also. I have him as my 25th ranked player on my big board. And yeah, is it my highest? Yeah. Richie Grant is my number one rated safety in this year's class. And for some perspective, I'm a little bit higher on him than most other people are, which I don't really understand why. His film, you see every single trait that you want from a single high free safety. So I don't necessarily know. Even the Draft Network had him ranked in the 50s or something like that. And yeah, that's just bonkers to me. Go. Fantastic question, man. Look, if ever you get some time, I should have done a film room on him. But look up some Kelvin Joseph film. Because I'm telling you, this man is the cornerback in the draft that not enough people are talking about, bro. He's my number 4 ranked corner in this year's draft. And I think in man coverage, but especially off-man coverage, he might be one of the best corners in the entire draft, bar none. I mean, that dude is a monster. Apparently, there's some off-the-field issues with him. Something about maybe he got into a fight with a coach one time or something. I don't know. Look, I'm an amateur. I'm not able to do interviews with the dudes and know who they are on and off the football field. All I can do is judge the film. And when you watch that film and you project him a little bit, that guy is a monster. A shutdown corner, transferred from LSU to Kentucky, and he's a shutdown corner for them. Kelvin is a high upside with a low floor. Yeah, and again, you were asking me about bust. I don't know what kind of character concerns he really has, so potentially he might end up being a bust due to some off-the-field stuff, but it will never be because he didn't have the physical talent necessary to play corner in the NFL. An outside corner at that. I love his talent. I really do. I got Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes and Asante Samuel over him. I'm not as high on Asante Samuel as many other people are. I think bigger receivers have a tendency to really mess with him and really kind of bully him around at the next level. And if he's going to be a corner, frankly, I want him as a nickel corner. And I prefer him in zone coverage more than I do in man coverage. It just reminds me too much of Dante Jackson. I want him to make a play on the football, use his closing speed to be able to make a play. And that's 100% what Dante Jackson does. 100%, Tyler. That's my comparison for Asante Samuel is Dante Jackson. Christian Barmore is my number 1 rated defensive tackle. Not a great year for defensive tackles. I might have mentioned that earlier. And this is my number 1 rated player. He's a hot and cold type of player. So, there are times when he's invisible and he has no impact on the game almost at all. But then when he turns it on, Barmore is a fucking nightmare, bro. I mean, really, truly dominant, but you never know what player you're going to get from snap to snap. So I couldn't be as high on him as some other people were. Cody, what do you think? Cody, who do you honestly think those quarterbacks are rated higher than Pitts? I do. And position value is something that's important to me. And it might be very simple. It might be very run-of-the-mill. It might not be too groundbreaking. But a franchise quarterback to me is the most important position in all of football. And right now, if I'm a general manager of the Panthers and I know I have to pick a player that will be able to lead the football team for the next few years, my evaluation says that Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance would all be able to do that. So, yeah, with that said, I have them ranked all higher than Kyle Pitts. And a lot of people aren't going to agree with my Rashawn Slater ranking being so high. I have him as my number 5 ranked player. I just think he's dominant, man. Super dominant. So I have him ranked a little bit ahead of Kyle Pitts. And then essentially Kyle Pitts is my number 1 rated receiver in this year's class. Like, I don't know what else to say. 6'6", 250-pound jump ball receiver. Has really good film against the best corners in the SEC. I really don't have to say too much about Kyle Pitts. Like, it just, the man kind of speaks for himself. Hope we get a backup running back from the University of Buffalo in the 6th round. What do you think? I always forget that dude's name. I'm about to look him up. The guy from Buffalo is a player that I'm a fan of. I always forget his name, though, man. He had like 6 touchdowns in one game and set the NCAA record. What's my man's name? Hang on. Dude, draft tech is low on him. Jarrett Patterson. Yeah, 5'9", 195 pounds from Buffalo. Yeah, dude. I'm a fan of Jarrett Patterson. I think he's a great football player. And yeah, I'm a fan of taking a running back in this year's draft. I really am. Knowing Christian McCaffrey had some injury concerns last year and wasn't able to stay healthy, having a good secondary running back. I don't know how many of you believe in Bonifon. He's been a good player for us for a long time, but yeah, I'm interested in upgrading that position at some point in the draft. Tyler, I appreciate you tuning in, man. Yeah, man, I want everyone to be able to jump in the show tomorrow. I was wrong. Apparently, StreamYard will let you have 10 people in the stream, so we might be able to use StreamYard. But yeah, tomorrow night, we're going to be doing our draft show. We're fucking pumped up for it, man. Really excited about the draft. Have no idea what the Panthers are going to do. And I'm pumped, man. I have to write a bunch of picks for Draft Tech. So I'll be doing that while I'm doing the podcast. So if I dip out for a second, you know why. But yeah, man, this is one of my favorite times of year. I absolutely love this stuff. Hope springs eternal for the Carolina Panthers, man. I love it. And yeah, man, I'm just super pumped. Super duper pumped. So do you guys have any more questions for me? Any more thoughts about the draft? It doesn't have to be about my rickety old big board. You could talk to me about literally whatever you want. You know, I don't know about you all. Great question, Near Vice. Says, who's your final guess at pick 8? And I would say it's just so tough, man. I'll say this. If Justin Fields is available, I don't think David Tepper will let Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer pass on him. I really don't. I genuinely think, we have to take Scott Fitterer at his word when he's in those press conferences saying you can never have enough quarterbacks on your roster. So, I tend to believe him. So my final pick right now is probably going to be Justin Fields. But my number 2, if it isn't, I'm probably going to have to say J.C. Horn. I think the Panthers really want to upgrade the corner position. And I think that they have a tremendous ability to do so. So, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of J.C. Horn. I'm a Clemson fan who is a fan of a South Carolina game chicken. Bro, I don't want to be a fan, but I am. The man's a badass. Can't hate on him. If we get Pitts, I'm going streaking. Well, for your neighbor's sake, I hope we don't get him. Nick, are you a fan? What do you think of Trevon Moehrig? I really love Trevon Moehrig. I do think he has a tendency to get caught reading the eyes of the quarterback. So quarterbacks look him off a ton. But that physical upside is ridiculous. If anything, I'm probably a little bit too low on Trevon. I think I have him. Let's see. Trevon, for me, is my 28th ranked player in the draft this year. So not far behind Richard Grant from UCF, but just a little bit. And yeah, I'm a fan of Trevon Moehrig. That's another class this year that the Panthers really need to add depth on. There are too many good safeties in this year's draft for us to pass on one, to be honest. Just discovered the channel, late to the party, but I enjoy the content you're putting out. Appreciate you, Danny. It's very kind, very nice of you, man. Yeah, I love doing this stuff, bro. I love it. And if you all love to talk about it, I'm down to sit here and bullshit about it, bro. Could we target pass rush in the second or third. If Joe Tryon is available, Joe Tryon out of Washington is a player that I really like a lot. Had 8 sacks and has really good physical upside, probably even more so than Yetur Gross-Matos a little bit. Maybe not more, but comparable. But knowing that we have to have or fill some positions at the linebacker, core, corner, offensive line, I just don't see defensive line being too much of a priority in this year's draft for the Panthers. What do I think of the possible Patriots and Panthers trade? So, I'm not a fan of moving back to 15. Scott Fitterer said, in his own words, that the Panthers have 16 players on their big board with a first-round grade. So why would you move to 15 and pick up the final, like the lowest-ranked player of your first-round picks? Like, for a team that's rebuilding, have some conviction. You have a top 10 pick. Pick your player, man. Pick your player. I know a bunch of, we mentioned it earlier with Tony, having more darts to throw at the board. And yeah, sure, no one has a crystal ball. No one can look into the future and know for sure who is and isn't going to bust. So maybe you want more players to fill out the roster. But, dude, if you're going to end up passing on a potential gold jacket Hall of Famer, you better love all that depth that you're trading back to draft. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of trading down. I don't want to trade. Yeah, Jake the Snake says I don't want to trade past 12. The lowest that I would be willing to move is 13 with the LA Chargers. That's about as far as I'd move. Yeah. Penei Sewell and Justin Herbert both went to Oregon. So if Penei Sewell is on the board, maybe they want to come up. Maybe we can fall back, pick up J.C. Horn, pick up Patrick Surtain, which moving back would be the scenario in which I would be happier with picking Patrick Surtain. Again, I'm not low on him. He's a first-round shutdown corner. I just think that Horn has a more upside. James Pickett disagrees. He says, I just don't think Horn and Jackson at CB1 to get killed by Thomas, Evans, and Julio. I don't know what makes you think Horn. I mean, maybe because he's a rookie. But what does Patrick Surtain do that J.C. Horn doesn't? Like, that's my question. What does Patrick Surtain do that is so much better than Horn? I don't see that on film. I just don't. Near Vosh with the $5. I appreciate you, bro. I wouldn't trade back beyond Dallas unless we got a future first. Yeah, if we're going to trade down, I damn sure want a future first-round pick. Straight up, bro. I'm not interested in moving for less than a first-round pick next year. Tomorrow's going to be interesting for sure. 100% it is, man. And listen, man, that's all for me. I appreciate you all jumping in, hanging out with me, man. I'm going to be here tomorrow night talking about the draft, calling out the picks. Hopefully I'll be able to meet some of you on camera, man. Not hopefully, definitely. To those of you that want to hang out in the chat and be on camera and talk with us, now's your opportunity to do so, man. The draft was the first time that I was on the show, and then I became a permanent member, man. So, hey, that could be one of y'all. You never know. So, listen, my big board, I have it posted to the top of my Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. And yeah, check out my top 100 players. I appreciate you all joining me for all the film rooms that I've done up to this point. And I love my Panther family, man. I appreciate you all coming, hanging out with your boy. And until tomorrow night, when the Panthers are on the clock, keep pounding.